Hi, my name is Alan Glover, and I'm putting this video together specifically for leaders in education. I have spent 200 days putting my business online. I've had my own business, Red Cherry Consulting, for 25 years. I was a teacher for 6 years, and then I went for 6 years. I worked at Volkswagen and General Motors in education and training. So I have made a lot of videos over the last 200 days, and I'm putting this video together just to enlighten educational leaders regarding the future world of work. There's a book here called Future Proof Your Child for the Year 2020 and Beyond. It was a fascinating read. And I have done work, I think, for more than 20 schools. Just before lockdown, I had this group of teachers from EZ Kabani, which is a disadvantaged school very close to Port Elizabeth, and we had a wonderful morning together. And I asked them a simple question: are we adequately preparing young people for the future world of work? And I know that schools are going through a tough time. My wife and my daughter are involved in schools. I still do work for schools, and I know it's not easy. And I know there's this massive curriculum that has to be covered. But we have to find space. We have to find space in the curriculum for the 5 skills that were identified by the World Economic Forum in a research study called The Future of Jobs. I came across it when I opened the Sunday Times in 2018, and I got very excited, and I studied it, and I highlighted and I underlined, and there were 5 skills that they identified in this Future of Jobs study by the World Economic Forum that are critical. And you can see I've got all these visuals over here. So the first skill is self-management, and I'll explain why I've got this box here. The next skill is thinking skills. The third skill is communication skills. The fourth skill over here is research. And the final skills is really what's very close to my heart, is relationship building and people skills. I know that I had to learn the hard way really when it came to self-management, and now I run a 2-day program called Self-Management 101. So the 10 or the 10 pillars of self-management, there's 10 things that I have to do to manage myself well. I'm going to just touch on the first 3. So self-management is a very critical skill. Whether you're managing your time, or you're dealing with the stress, or you're solving problems, or you're planning your life, or you're taking control, or there are so many skills. So what I did was I bought this little box along, and it says on the front here, Ohorongo Cement. It is a big German company, and I was invited. I speak at conferences all over the place, and so I was flown to Namibia, to Windhoek, to speak at a conference. And the conference was organized by Ohorongo Cement. I spoke on the quitter, the camper, or the climber. And when I got home, I opened this gift that they gave me, and in this box there were a whole lot of let's call them braai or barbecue utensils. There was a fork, and there was a spoon, and there was a knife, but I took them out and I replaced them with different tools. So the first tool, I went to Builder's Warehouse and I bought myself a screwdriver. So we have to manage our mind. I mean, a car has to be tuned up, and so we also have to tune in our minds, because our minds are a critical component. I would say they are the number 1 component in our lives. This is the computer. This is the computer that drives my life. I also bought myself a shifting spanner, because every day of our life, our emotions shift. So we have to know how to manage our mind and how to master our emotions. I also bought along a saw, because if you want to soar high like an eagle, your attitude determines your altitude. Then there's a hammer. During tough times, as tough as nails, we have to manage adversity. And Jack Ma is the famous MD, CEO of Alibaba, and he even talks about the spiritual intelligence. He talks about the love quotient. And so here's a spirit level. What do we mean by spiritual intelligence? Now, I can't get into all of these things over here. All I'm saying is that according to the World Economic Forum, self-management or personal mastery is a critical life skill. And I've spent 25 years working in the field of self-management and personal mastery. The second skill identified is thinking skills. And I just picked up 3 books off my shelf here. I've got so many books. I mean, just this one over here is a massive book on, it says here, making the most of your brain. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just quite passionate about books. This book says Thinking for a Change. It's written by John Maxwell. This book over here is How to Think Like Mandela. And the last book is by Dr. Caroline Leaf, Think, Learn and Succeed. And one of my favorite verses comes from Proverbs 4 verse 23. Be careful what you think. Your life is shaped by your thoughts. So I think thinking is a critical skill. I was asked by VW more than 10 years ago to develop a creative thinking program. And I included visionary thinking and analytical thinking and a whole lot of different kinds of thinking into the course. So yes, we need self-management skills, we need thinking skills, and this is one of my favorite, communication skills. I think for the last 25 years, companies like Coca-Cola, Continental Tire, Volkswagen, and many others have invited me for 2 days to do my presentation skills course. About 4 years ago, I was invited to Zambia, to the Kalumbile mine, to spend 5 days, 2 days presentation skills, 2 days facilitation skills, and then 1 day on coaching. All of those skills are very closely related to communication. So we need to be equipping young people how to communicate effectively. Next one is research skills. This is a document that I went and got off the internet because I was doing some work for a company on green areas. I don't know if you know what green areas are. The Japanese came up with a concept where they painted the floor green, and at the start of the day all the production people would stand in the green area and talk about what happened yesterday in terms of quality and quantity and safety and housekeeping, and then they would prepare for the day that lay ahead. So I went and did some research on this document over here, but I'm also busy doing a lot of research on action learning. I met with a gentleman in Joburg who travels the world. He works all over the world and he implements action learning in companies. Action Learning is an international organization. So I'm busy doing some research and I'm working through this book, but it's a huge amount of work and some of it's quite heavy. But we have to be able to equip young people for the world of research. The last one is people skills. I wrote this book called Winning Hearts and Minds. It's about people, it's about relationships, it's about teamwork. So I'm very passionate about people and about getting along with people. And I wrote this book because the MD of VW said to me, how do you win the hearts and minds of people? And I chirped him, greet, meet and treat. And then I left his office saying, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book about this. One of my favorite videos, I use it in my leadership course, is Freedom Writers. Hilary Swank is a teacher who goes to a school, and in her classroom are 4 gangs who all want to kill each other. They are not interested in education, they give her a terrible time, but over the course of the movie you watch the way she wins the hearts and the minds of these young people by the way she greets them, the way she meets with them and the way she treats them. So people skills are also a critical success factor. So I have spent, the whole of lockdown putting my Red Cherry Consulting business online and turning it into AWG Online. There are books, there are courses, there are videos, there's life coaching, there's business mentoring, there are assessments, there's the memory training, the education side. So what I have decided to do is I'm going to go to schools and say to the schools, online young people who are in grade 9, which is your standard 7, your old standard 7, they can do these 2 skills. They can do self-management and they can do thinking skills in standard 7 or grade 9. In grade 10 they do communication and research, and then in grade 11 they do relationship building and people skills, and then in grade 12 they have a busy year, as you know, so we're not going to worry them in grade 12. So by the time a young person has reached grade 12, they would have been assessed and accredited on self-management, thinking, communication, research, and also on relationship building. So I'm very excited because it's difficult to get into schools. Schools are busy places. Everybody wants to get into the schools. So I thought, what a wonderful way to equip young people for the future world of work by offering them these courses online. All of the best, and I'm sure at some stage I might even have a conversation with you, because I'm going to be sending stuff out to the schools, and if you're interested to find out more, it would be my pleasure to have that conversation with you. All of the best and take care.